Good evening, everyone. I think I need to turn it up a bit. How's that? Hello, everybody. Do I sound like a circus act? Can you hear me at the back? Wonderful. So you can hear me. Thank you so much for joining us on this auspicious event in formidable rooms. Thank you so much to the Board of Supervisors at the County of Nevada for letting us be here. It's very special. And for waiving the formidable fee. We're so grateful. So my name is Eliza Tudor, Executive Director of Nevada County Arts Council. Most of you are aware that following the state designation of 2 California cultural districts within our county, which implied state designation of our three incorporated areas, we thought long and hard with you about what we should do with those designations. We knew that those designations would run out. We knew that we were entering a pilot phase, and we knew that it would be even more competitive and challenging to make the grade the second time round. So we thought, what can we do that will best show our work with our partners, the city of Grass Valley, the city of Nevada City, the town of Truckee, all 3 chambers within those cultural districts? And then and the Nevada County Economic Resource Council, importantly, who funded this survey with us. And then how can we extrapolate the impact of our cultural districts across the county so that we involve all our unincorporated communities, all our artists and our cultural assets. So we're here this evening to hear from this guy from Washington. This guy from Washington, and we'll move on to him in a moment. But I thought this land that we are on is incredibly special and incredibly beautiful. So let us acknowledge it now with Shelley Covert. Shelley, you are a member of our Board of Directors at Nevada County Arts Council. You are also spokesperson for the Nisenan tribe. You have cared for this land for 13,000 years. At the beginning of the gold rush, there were 7,000 members. Now there are 144. This means that our responsibility towards our tribe and our recognition of the tribe's people is incredibly important in everything we do. Shelley sits upon the Tribal Council, and she's also Executive Director for California Heritage Indigenous Research Project. I'm getting pretty good. So with all that in mind, it falls to Shelley to welcome us this evening rather than to me.
Thank you. Hamakani, everybody. Homo yabemi, nishinaname miwakamni, lidam lily yapemni, Ustama hedidi. We're in Ustama. Ustama sits underneath what we now know and love as Nevada City. And like Eliza said, the tribe has been here a very long time. Of course, it wasn't me, the one personal person out there tending the land, but my many, many countless generations of ancestors on my mom's dad's side of the family. And they've been here since time immemorial, that nobody can remember a time that the people weren't here. And I just wanted to pay or give thanks to the Nevada County Arts Council. The Nisenan have been included in the formation of the cultural districts, the application. We were absolutely part of the groundwork and the ground foundation. We were putting together the cultural assets map, and Eliza had said, you know, can you tell me some of the important Nisenan cultural assets and where they are? And I'm like, I can't, because it's everywhere, it's everything. This entire geography was just completely occupied, I guess is the word, intended and lived upon and used to the fullest. And so that has really given us visibility. And as we continue to gain our voice and to gain, I'm going to talk backwards, to gain not being erased anymore, it's just been fabulous to be included. And so I'll make it really short. I just want to sing a welcoming song. It's traditional to welcome people into our territory, which we didn't really get a chance to do back at the time of the gold rush. So you're supposed to, you guys are funny. Thank you. I like that you laughed at that. But we're all supposed to be welcome to wherever we are so we don't get sick. And to be in alignment with the people who are dead and buried here, the thousands of Nisenan people who spirits remain here. Sorry, track change. It's spring, and so instead I think it's more appropriate that I sing the spring song. Yo, 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 payo okoi pe, payo okoi pe, yo menem kau hededi, yo menem kau hededi, yo, 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 payo okoi pe, yo, 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 payo okoi pe. Payo okoi pe, yo menem kau hededi, yo menem kau hededi, yo, 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 payo okoi pe. Hui! And that is, thank you. It's important to share the language that was said to be extinct, and I just love being able to sing in Nisenan for people. And that just really, this is a song that we wrote recently, last spring, I think, or the spring before. And yo is flower. Yo menekau hededi is springtime is here. And payo okoi pe is let's all go dance. So, Ekwa, thank you.
Thank you so much, Shelley. So Nevada County Arts Council is a member of Americans for the Arts, which we all know is the largest national advocacy organization, which has been going for decades. It has the most rigorous toolkits, the methodology of which will be explained to you by Randy in a moment. We're also at a state level, so that's the national level. We're also at a state level members of Californians for the Arts and California Arts Advocates. Does anyone know why April is such a special month this particular year?
Arts advocacy.
It is the first inaugural arts creativity, oh God, I've got a complete, yes, arts, culture and creativity month. It's very important. It's the first. And it's been recognized and passed into perpetuity by the California State Assembly, and partly due to the incredible work of Californians for the Arts' new executive director, Julie Baker. Before I welcome Randy, I'd just like to pass the mic to Julie just to speak about the importance of this month and the event that's coming up in Sacramento next Tuesday.
Thank you so much. Didn't know I was going to do that. So, April is Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. It was actually designated by Senator Ben Allen on the Senate floor last week or 10 days ago or whatever it was, co-authored by Assemblymember Kansen Chu. So it is officially Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month in April in California for perpetuity. So that's a good thing to celebrate. And we're advocating for things like the Governor Newsom put an additional $10 million for the California Arts Council, which is a state arts agency, into the budget. So he's recognizing the impact of the arts in California. We're really pleased with that. It still keeps us below the median average for states. It's still not where we want to be, but it's a great first step. step, so we're really happy to see that. And on Tuesday, we'll be in Sacramento. There are about 200 people who are registered to do delegation visits with legislators. There's 120 legislators in California. We've got visits with about 65 confirmed, and we are telling them why the arts matter and what incredible impact they make, both in our social, existence in our lives, and in solutions, but also in economy. And we've got great statistics on the state level, as well as down to districts. And today, we're going to hear about what it is in Nevada County, which I know in this room, everyone's a believer. So anyway, CaliforniansForTheArts.org is where you find out more info. I'm going to...
Julie, thanks so much. And a big call out to Whitney, who's Julie's project manager for this entire month. She's been doing an amazing job. They've been giving arts advocacy trainings basically across the state. So we've already had one here in Grass Valley, Nevada City. We're going to be having another one in early May up in Truckee with our colleagues, which is fantastic. So, quick thank yous. I'd like to thank Nevada County Arts Council's Board of Directors. Could our Board of Directors stand? Jesse, come on, shall we? So in the 9 months of active surveying, which doesn't include the 3 months that we gathered the contact information for all the cultural assets, which we then surveyed, our board of directors has been incredibly supportive. We've had them out in rain, sun, snow, north, south, east, west, surveying audiences at every possible kind of event to make sure that we get the most rigorous kind of data. Randy will speak to the amazing participation rate that we achieved as a result. But thank you to our board of directors. Thank you to the cities of Grass Valley, Nevada City, and the town of Truckee. Lisa, as mayor of Grass Valley, you've been amazingly supportive. It's a leap of faith because this is a brand new pilot program that we're all part of. And even without the state designation, we know what we have, and we know what we have even more so because of this report. I'd like to thank the Greater Grass Valley Chamber of Commerce, Nevada City Chamber, and Truckee Chamber. Are any representatives from these entities here? Yay, there's Robin from Grass Valley. Robin, you've been amazingly supportive. Thank you. And then again, Nevada County Economic Resource Council, the ERC. Who's here from the ERC today? Tim Corkins, who insists on calling himself the interim executive director. Really, we know it's not interim. Thank you to the ERC as well for their display of faith. Just a big call out to Truckee Arts Alliance, which is a new arts alliance in Truckee. You have been amazing in helping us capture data. Where is Sarah? Sarah, where are you sitting? Stand up. So in Truckee, it's this really innovative environment. There's Truckee Arts Alliance, there's Truckee Public Art Commission, there's Truckee Cultural District. Hillary Hobbs is here from the town of Truckee. Hillary, I saw you. Where are you? Hillary, stand up. You're a senior management analyst with the town of Truckee. Thank you so much. And tomorrow we'll be up with you, with Jeff, town manager, planners, council members, and hopefully funders in the same room all at once. So Truckee have been amazing partners in this as well. All the arts organizations who have participated, big and small, across the county. So we have, Randy will tell you, we didn't just go for the big, obvious spenders, legacy organizations of which we know are of such value, but we also chose the little guys, the emerging art forms, the new people, because we wanted their names to be on the list, because we want to understand who you are. So it was fantastic. And then finally, County of Nevada and Board of Supervisors just recently have passed another resolution naming us eligible to apply for state-local partnership with the California Arts Council. So we are officially eligible to apply to be your umbrella organization to make sure that we're spotting opportunities such as this. So we thank the Board of Supervisors, and to Alison, thank you. So, let me see. I also want to call out Don Harris, who's in the room, Executive Director for Creativity and the Arts at San Francisco Unified School District. current member of California Arts Council, which is formidable. We are all on our best behavior tonight. Past chair ×2 under Governor Jerry Brown, and current member. Lovely to have you here, Don. And finally, I'd like to thank two particular people who really worked in the trenches with me over this last 9 months. One of them is in Costa Rica. Damn her. Eve Diamond was absolutely amazing. So, Jeffrey, you've been incredible in your support, and you continue to be, of Nevada County Arts Council. And your predecessor was Eve, and she's now sort of defected to the arts, you see, so you know what's on the horizon for you. And also Cheryl Grossman. Is Cheryl, are you in the room? Where are you? Cheryl, stand up. Cheryl, you are a new resident in Nevada County, relative, and you were absolutely extraordinary at a certain moment when Americans for the Arts were saying, come on guys, we've got to wrap this up. You've got enough data, we don't need any more data. And we said, no, we do, we want to talk to everyone, we want to include everyone. Everyone's part of this conversation. And Cheryl went out and called the organizations that perhaps didn't know how to fill in the applications, held a few hands, and was just absolutely marvelous. So you really upped our participation rate. You were fantastic. Thank you. Who thinks that Cheryl should join our board of directors? And then we also have another person in the room, and this is, I promise, then I'm going to introduce Randy, Angela Tati. Angela was an incredible force for good in Plaza Arts Council, our neighboring arts council. Many years ago, I met her, and most recently has been leading the charge in San Luis Obispo. And it was her who introduced me years ago to the idea of doing this study in the first place. So, Angela, thanks so much for your mentoring. So, what can we expect? We can expect me to stop talking, introduce Randy. Randy's going to share key findings, talk about the rigorous methodology, give us a few tools, a few hints for arts organizations and local businesses who are wondering how to use this data. Then we're going to turn it to you for Q&A. And then we're going to have a 7-minute turn to your neighbor survey breakout. Remember how we did this a year ago? It was fantastic. So you see these little bits of paper, and there are pens. We're going to ask you to sort of just have fun with ideas, and we're going to capture that data and use it against you later. So with that, I'm going to introduce Randy. Come on up, Randy. Randy, you are Vice President of Research and Policy at Americans for the Arts. We are so lucky to have you here. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, everybody. All right, Eliza. Yes. Great leadership right here. Thank you. All right. Well, I am just so happy to be with everybody today. We've got such a good news story to talk about. Yes, I'm in from Washington. I apologize. It's not my fault. Actually, this is the second report that was published today. Right? Everyone with me? Although there are no redactions in this one, you can believe everything that you see and read in this report. And I think my mic is like going on and off. All right, I better think about that other mic. All right, so I'll take that, and then I'll just use both mics. So anyway, it's terrific. We got a good news story today. We're going to change the conversation about the arts, just like we're changing mics. Thank you. All right. I sound so much better, don't I? We all love the arts. They inspire us. They engage us. They bring us joy and inspiration. But fact is, they're businesses. And, they do all those wonderful things, but they also employ people in the community. They support jobs. They generate government revenue. They drive tourism. And we have got a fabulous story to talk about today. But I never like to forget about those fundamental benefits of the arts, right? To give you, Exhibit A of that is this flute, which you're looking at, found in a cave a couple of years ago by some anthropologists who were in Germany, who were studying Stone Age civilizations, and there it is, and they were thinking, man, wouldn't it be great if we found a bowl or a spoon or hit the jackpot and there was a cave painting or something like that. Well, they found this flute, which they have dated to be 35,000 years old. And it's a beautiful hand-carved piece of wood. Eventually, someone's going to have to blow some air in this and see if this thing works. Here, you do it. And, it had some good tonality to it. But what's fascinating in the write-up of this report, and it was in the journal Science, one of the top scientific journals in the world, they were trying to figure out what was the purpose of this flute. They thought, well, maybe it was to help promote territorial expansion. All right, sure, why not? Or a way to celebrate the hunt, or related to the fertility ritual, perhaps. I kept thinking, maybe they liked the way it sounded. That never showed up. But the idea, arts and culture have been central to our humanity for a long time. So fast forward to the 1700s, where we find the shame flute. Now, this little ditty, as you can see on the right, was made out of cast iron, and that round part was clasped around a person's neck, and their fingers were shackled to this long iron tube. Look at the painting on the left. The purpose of the shame flute was to punish bad musicians. That's right. You got a gig at the Prince's Palace and you stank up the joint? Well, they'd march you around town for a couple of days in the shame flute so everybody can laugh at the bad musician, A little barbaric, but they cared about their music, right? We'll give them that. We're going to talk a little bit about tourism today. Look at that crowd. Nothing brings out, a crowd like the shame flute. So I like to think of it as early cultural tourism. Anyway, so I got to go to an arts event recently. Think Americans for the Arts on my business card. He must go to the arts all the time. That must be all he does. Lucky? Yeah, I have as much trouble getting out the door as the next guy. But I travel a lot. I'm in a lot of different cities. And so, but it was date night with my wife. And we're, when you're doing date night, right, you kind of try and plan it, at least a little bit. So it's like, hey, how about a couple Fridays from now we do something? And so what do you do? Well, when you're trying to plan it, you go online. So we went home and we started checking websites and a little bit of something about myself. I'm newly an empty nester. Anybody who's on the cusp of this is in for glorious times ahead, believe me. So we've actually taken up dancing. So we do ballroom dancing. You're looking at a very amateur ballroom dancer here. And so it's like, well, what are we going to do? We heard about this great tango performance. And so we found it on the website, and we had to pick the right night and the right time and, the right seat and the cost price. Did the calculus, found the right moment, pulled out the credit card, punch in the number, print out the ticket, and we're all set to go. All right, so far so good. He's planning. Now the big evening comes, a couple Fridays ahead, and got home from work. I was informed we'll be dressing up this evening, dear. So on went the suit, but waiting for me was a new necktie. So this whole economic impact of the arts night thing hadn't even started. There's already, $80 of retail spending. It was a great tie. And so got dressed up, and on the way to see the performance, we stopped and had dinner, right? Dinner and a show. We do that all the time, right? So went to a nice restaurant, spent $70 and, had a good meal. And then from there, it was off to the theater where the performance was. Parked the car next door at the parking garage. Gave my $10 to the guy. Got my stub. We're all set. Went into the theater, beautiful historic theater, and, walked around, looked at the frescoes on the wall, and got our program, and sat in the audience, and read about the dancers, and, looked at the beautiful ceiling, and the chandeliers and everything. Now, pause right there, because it's only 5 minutes to 8. The show, the performance, hasn't even started yet. But think about all the industries that have already been touched related to this one date night at the Arts. Well, it started a couple weeks before when we went online and, started finding performances in the right theater. Arts organizations, everyone in this room, we have computer programmers and web designers and marketing people, right? And then, I pulled out the credit card and punched in the numbers, and bought the tickets online. Now we got the e-commerce, the finance, the banking people. All of a sudden, they're a little part of this action. And I'm actually not sure where my wife got the tie. I should get that and fill out the story. But somewhere. And then the restaurant, $70. It's one of those farm-to-fork places, so everything's grown within 50 miles. So some of the local growers and producers are seeing some of those $70. The waiter who waited on us gets some personal income. The owner of the restaurant, entrepreneurial income. So there's all that activity. And then off to the theater and parking. Now that parking garage actually is a municipally owned parking garage. And I can tell you, they are making bank off that theater, right? That place is going 6-7 nights a week, hundreds of people, everyone parks there. And so, that's great news for the city. $10 again and again. And then we went to the theater, got our program. You never notice arts events? What is it about us? We're always giving people paper. It's a program. It's a postcard. It's something. Well, there's a writer in the community that's paid to do the writing for that, right? And there's a graphic artist that does the design of all of that. And the printer. Probably not. Any printers in here, off chance? Printers do fantastic by the arts. We should just add up our printing budgets. And let me tell you, that will get people's attention at the next Rotary Club meeting. So, even that. And then just sitting in the auditorium. And so I used to run a theater, and I can tell you, those beautiful chandeliers hanging, well, those aren't interns that change those light bulbs. You got to get electricians up there to do that, right? Arts organizations, they employ the trades. You got, Performing Arts Center. How south does it go? If there's ever a plumbing problem, it only happens to your biggest donor, right? So you can't let this happen. So all kinds of industries are touched. Now 8 o'clock comes, the curtain goes up, the performance begins. That's when people maybe think about, wow, arts is an industry. Those dancers are amazing. They must be getting paid something, It's hard being a dancer, I know. So that's what we look to capture in this whole arts and economic prosperity study. Spending by the arts organizations, as well as that event-related spending by arts audiences. Everyone good on that? Where I put it. All right. So what do we do here? Well, Nevada County, and you can see us. There you are. Right there we are. Everyone catch that technical effect? That was all me. Part of a big national study. We're in all 50 states. We study communities as small as 1,400 people, as large as 4 million. It doesn't matter if big urban city, a small rural community. If the arts are happening there, there is a measurable economic impact that's going to happen. So, Liza, filled in a lot of this, right? We surveyed the arts and culture organizations, 161. 103 of you completed the surveys. Thank you. And by the way, that 2/3 compliance rate, well ahead of the national average. Nationally, we average barely over 50%. So fantastic participation in that. And then we work, so how do you get that audience spending stuff, right? Well, many of you allowed us and the Arts Council folks to do these audience surveys at your arts events across the county. 1,135 of those, a huge oversample. Yes, that is worth a woo-woo because we only asked for 850, and you should probably turn the camera off. That's already an oversample because most people don't do 850, and so they do less, but that's still enough. Anyway, so this is great data. We work with a team of economists from Georgia Tech School of Economics who customize an input-output analysis model specifically for every community that we study. I'll just say this because we know, you haven't had enough wine yet. But it is a localized model, and we do that because $50 spent here is going to have a different economic impact than $50 spent in Sacramento or San Francisco or anywhere else. So it's all localized. This is a methodology that's been vetted by the White House Council of Economic Advisors, Bank of America economists. You can really trust these data. So what did we learn? Well, let's just get to the videotape here, right? Total economic activity, $46.9 million. That is a lot of economic activity. And you can see that's comprised of two separate figures. One on the left, spending by the organizations themselves, $25.7 million. That's a mythbuster right there, right? Everybody loves the arts. Oh, we go, we love the Nutcracker around, the holidays and love the big band around 4th of July. Yeah, that's true. But your organizations are businesses. Arts employ people locally in the community, purchase goods and services from other businesses across the community. We're members of the Chamber of Commerce. We drive tourism. Arts organizations are good business citizens, and don't forget to tell that story. And unlike most other industries, we generate all that event-related spending. Hey, when you filled up your car with gas, did you say, hey, let's get a night in the city as long as we're here, right? No, or we checked out a book at the library. Let's go out for a 5-course meal. Just something about the arts that generate all that event-related spending. You add it up, $21.2 million, and we'll start to, drill down to some specifics on that. But what's the economic impact of that? Well, the first thing we look at is jobs. Jobs across the county, 869. And why do we look at jobs? You ask most legislators or elected leaders their 3 priorities, they'll tell you, jobs, jobs, and jobs. All right, we're going to connect our cultural product to that jobs priority. Now, these are jobs not just at arts organizations, right? Because remember, we spend, money at the printer, and, arts organizations have accountants and auditors, and, the utility bill. And then there's all that event-related spending as well. So this isn't just like a narrow column of arts folks. This is a community-wide impact. Arts, not just food for the soul, but putting food on the table for 869 households right here in Nevada County. What's another thing we look at? Government revenue, $5.1 million in local and state government revenue. And this also kind of, breaks the myth of our industry a little bit, because it shows that funding for the arts, when the city or the county invests in the arts, those dollars aren't just disappearing down some black hole of goodness, never to be seen again. No, it's given back economically to the community. So it's a two-way street. I'll tell you, nationally, if you look at all federal, state, local government funding for the arts, it's about $5 or $6 billion. Total government revenue at those 3 levels, $27.5 billion. Small investment, big return. That's what you get with the arts, right? Okay. Let's start to break this down a little bit. Remember, we did those 1,135 audience intercept surveys at a whole range of events. Well, the typical attendee spends $40.44 per person per event, not including the cost of admission. $40.44. By the way, nationally, we did 212,000 of these surveys. The average is $31.47. So we're running ahead of the national average here. And you can see how this breaks down. About half of it's on food, right? There's my dinner and souvenirs and gifts. There's my necktie and transportation. There's my $10 for parking. So you might be looking at lodging. Wow, can you still get a room for $7.02? Yeah. And would you want it if you could get it? No, you wouldn't. But remember, just a percentage of folks have an overnight. Other is always interesting, when you ask 212,000 people an open-ended question. So I was up in Wisconsin where a farmer had paid somebody $60 to milk his cows so he could go to the theater that night. Isn't that great? People are doing what it takes to get to the arts. So, of course, I'll have to change the survey and add dairy now or something next time. But anyway, so lots of economic activity. That's where it's going. And, just think about each of those pieces of the pie. Those dollars evaporating up into the sky? No, going to nearby businesses, local merchants. We also ask those folks for their zip code, because we want to find out, do you live in Nevada County? Are you local? Are you from outside the county? Are you non-local? 31% of attendees came from outside the county. 31%. And do they spend differently? You bet they do. Look at this. There's the 31%. Proof. And $68.65 per person per event, not including admission. We didn't even stop there, because we're just that annoying. How much did you spend? What's your zip code? Why are you here? We're glad you're here. Thanks for coming. But are you here on business? Are you here visiting friends and family? 76% of those non-local attendees said, we came specifically for this arts event. And then we actually asked the local folks, well, what if this arts event wasn't taking place? Would you have stayed home, done something else? We gave them a bunch of options. 42% said, we traveled to a different community to attend a similar kind of arts event. And arts culture, right? You know, I'm talking big umbrella here. You know, if people have that cultural arts itch, you know, they're going to scratch it. They'll do it right here, or they'll do it somewhere else. And so what this tells us is that when we invest in the arts, we're not investing in a frill or an extra or a luxury. Rather, we're investing in an industry that draws people to the community, and those people spend money. Not only that, we're keeping our neighbors and their hard-won discretionary dollars right here in town. A vibrant arts community is good for local merchants. Oh, and let me give you that lodging piece. All right, follow me here. So those, remember the 103 organizations that responded to the survey, and remember we only use their data. We don't make any estimates for non-respondents. So these are understated. We got most of the dollars, but there's more out there. 524,000 attendees at those organizations, right? And then we reduce it, 31% of those folks from out of town. Within that group, 21% had an overnight expense, and they average $160 a night. You know, that's what the tourism, we just met with the tourism folks here, right? And the economic development people. You know, you get that head in the bed, that's when the cash registers really start ringing. So, yeah, it's putting cheeks in seats at local restaurants, derrieres and cafe chairs. So the arts are good for local businesses, good for the economy. Everyone good with that? Is everyone following that? All right. Let me show you one more. Some, you know, back to, Washington, D.C. Speaking of Washington, you know that shame flute? You can actually find that at the Museum of Crime and Punishment, which is where else in Washington, D.C. So anyway, that's a real thing. But if you look on the back of your report, you're going to see a bunch of logos. What else is going on in Washington? Washington, D.C. is the land of national organizations. There's so many national organizations. There's a national organization for the national organizations. But you can make this work for you because you see up there on the left, we've got the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and below that, the National League of Cities. That's where so many of our mayors and city leaders and your county administrators, they go to National Association of Counties. Your tourism folks, they're kind of in the middle. They all go to Destinations International. If you're a member of the business community, well, you'll be glad to know that the Conference Board is a national partner on your research. That's the national organization for the Fortune 1000 companies in this country. National organizations on this study, on your study, because they too believe arts are a fundamental component of a healthy community. They buy into the methodology. They buy into the results. So you can feel really good going and talking to your government leaders, your business leaders, and talking about the arts as a business. This study shows that an investment in the arts doesn't come at the expense of economic development. Rather, it's an industry, and it's one that supports jobs, generates government revenue, drives tourism. That makes sense? Everyone good with that? All right, so a fabulous story there. Let me just hit you with another thing real quick. We got a few minutes. Yeah, that's the right slide. World War II tank. What's he going with this? Yeah, that's actually a World War II era tank, but in fact, it's an inflatable tank. It's the one up there on the left. This is a product of the 23rd Special Troops Unit in World War II. Anybody hear of these folks? Nickname, good, a couple of you, the Ghost Army. So put your mind back to the 40s, the war in Europe. It was real touch and go. I mean, we were just right on the line. And the U.S. military was trying to get any kind of edge or advantage that they could. They thought, you know what, if we could come up with a way to confound the enemy a little bit, well, that might help. Throw them off the scent. And so they created this special unit. And what did they do? Where do you find those kind of people? Well, they went and pulled the artists out of the art schools, the designers, the writers, the technicians, actors, craftsmen. And the 23rd did 20 elaborate battlefield diversions. Some a little elaborate, some actors dressed up as officers in a restaurant known to be frequented by enemy spies, and maybe speaking just a little too loud in the, boy, when Patton goes south, there's going to be trouble, No one like, ooh, Patton going south, got it. Actually, one of the U.S. generals credits the 23rd with saving 10,000 American lives during a Rhine war battle because it peeled off this huge portion of the German army that went to chase down the inflatable tanks and the inflatable airplanes. Art Kane, Ellsworth Kelly, Bill Blass, so many of our World War II artists and designers, all members of the Ghost Army. Now, my point in all this, no, it's not because he always wanted to be a history teacher, and here he is. If you could take arts and creativity and prosper with it in the middle of a World War II battlefield, well, we sure can do it right here in Nevada County, right? In 2000, whatever this is, 19, right? We're in 19. So this is the importance of creativity and the creative economy. And so I want to just give you a quick snapshot here of an additional study, because this is how you prosper in a global economy. Arts and culture organizations, they're all part of this. But for this study, we expand the lens of arts organizations to include the for-profit film, architecture, design, publishing, media, so many of those businesses that were not part of this. I use my data source, Dun & Bradstreet. It's the most comprehensive and trusted source for business information in the United States. And they track 16.5 million active business establishments. And I can tell you, nationally, 4% of business establishments are arts-centric businesses involved in the creation or the distribution of the arts. But check out the story right here in Nevada County. 429 arts businesses that employ 1,175 people. And each of these dots represents an arts business of some kind. It might be an artist, it might be a design company, a publishing, a printing company. That is 5.4% of all businesses in the county. Remember, national average, 4%. Nevada County, 5.4%. So we're doing ahead of the game here. How about employment? Nationally, 2%. Right here in Nevada County, 2.7%. So this is a county that stacks up very competitively. And, we've got this creative economy environment. And so that's really important in this global economy. And here's why. Let me get back to the conference board. Again, this is where big business goes for information. Their research shows creativity is now among the top 5 applied skills that business leaders are looking for. In fact, it's leapfrog the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic. Well, of course, you have to be able to read, write, and do math. But if you could take some creativity and apply that to your scientific, your engineering, your agriculture knowledge, those are the high-paying jobs. These are the jobs that help you prosper in a global economy. And that's why these are so sought after. 72% of business leaders say creativity is of high importance. 85% in hiring, 85% of those folks say, can't find the people we're looking for. So they asked them, all right, well, how do you know if you got a creative person on the line? There's no typing test for creativity, right? The biggest indicators of creativity, starting your own company, entrepreneurial activity, and study of the arts, especially while in college. I got to tell you, I travel around now and I talk to students. So, it wasn't that long ago when people said, hey, get the arts off your resume. You want to look serious, right? You want to look like a good, solid candidate. Now, get it on, because this is an indicator of creativity. We've got a banker on our board of directors, and he always asks about people's involvement in the arts, because for him, it's a proxy of creativity. Except for bank tellers, he says. I don't want creative bank tellers, But anyway, this is a big deal because the new workforce is operating very differently. When I came up, finished at San Diego State, I went to whoever'd have me. Packed up the 64 Dodge Dart with the punch button automatic, and away I went. These days, workers in the new economy are picking the communities that they want to go to and that they want to live in. And they're moving there without a job. And they figure, well, start my own business. I'll hook up with a business incubator. Or I've got skills that cut across multiple sectors. I'll find work. And so communities are dealing with the brain drain and trying to turn that into a brain gain, right? Because these days, if you attract the workers, the businesses follow. The old days, businesses went somewhere and the workers followed, right? You see the difference? And so this is global phenomenon. It's all around the world. My daughter's friend came home a few months ago after college and said, I'm moving to Berlin. Why? Heard it's a cool place to live. She didn't have a job. She'd never been there. I'm like, rock on, Julia. Awesome. So, but this is happening over and over. And so what are HR VPs doing everywhere? Trying to keep their job. So what will keep you here? What will keep you from leaving? And the answer is always the same. Look, you want me to be creative and innovative in the workplace? I'm a creative person. I want arts and culture in my community. I want arts maker spaces and festivals and great restaurants. I'm a creative person. I want to live in a creative community. And that's another benefit that we get with this creative, culturally vibrant community. So 21st century workforce, huge issue. I am going to, let me highlight this happy-looking fella. This guy in 2013, Thomas Sudoff, got the Nobel Prize for Medicine. And, he's a big smile there. And the reporter called him up, Professor, who was your most influential teacher? Without missing a beat, he said, I owe it all to my bassoon teacher. And he went on to explain how his music education gave him the habits of mind that made him a great scientist. Ability to frame a question, seek an answer, deal with ambiguity, be creative about solutions. So there's some really great stories there. I'm going to just fast forward ahead to this and then one more, because this is also about our hearts. This is about our people. This is about our community. I'm sure we were all affected this week watching Notre Dame burn, right? Terrible. What struck me in the TV coverage is every now and then they sort of cut away to the crowd and people burst out into song. Did you see some of that? People were singing. This is what happens. The arts, what we do, also helps heal a community. After 9/11, the members of Congress, the House and the Senate, their staffs, everybody kind of assembled on the Capitol steps and spontaneously broke into songs singing God Bless America. The arts help heal our communities. They help unify our communities. And last fall, I did one of the largest public opinion surveys of the arts ever conducted. One of the key findings to me was 72% of the American population says, yes, the arts unify our communities, regardless of age, race, or ethnicity. And those are findings that cut across all socioeconomic strata. It's not an urban phenomenon. It's not an affluence phenomenon. And these are some of the other benefits that our arts community, it makes us a healthier place to be. So, speaking of Paris, I guess it's not too soon to laugh about something. Actually, bad news in 1912. The Mona Lisa got stolen from the Louvre, and those empty hooks right there are where the Mona Lisa had been hanging. It took them 2 years to get it back. But in the 2 years that the Mona Lisa was gone, more people went to see where the painting had been hanging, or you know where this is going, than saw the painting itself in the previous 14 years. It's so easy to take arts and culture and all the great benefits we provide to the community for granted. But we've all got to get out there. We got to make the case. We need to fill our quivers with case-making arrows about the value of the arts, how it helps our communities socially, educationally, economically. I've got a golden rule in Americans for the Arts: no numbers without a story and no stories without a number. In the arts, we're in the story business. Now you've got numbers. There's a lot more to it than that. Everything you do to advance the arts in our community is important, and you're important for doing it. Thanks very much. Thank you. I always just here, grab it. I think we have a couple of time for
Yes, your
a couple
questions.
of minutes of questions.
I'm going to run around with this mic wherever you are.
Yes, question.
Two questions, actually. One is, how does all that data with the arts industry compare to similar industries that might attract people like sports and other recreational and/or tourism types of industries? And second question, a little more esoteric, how does the earning wages for the content producers in the arts? So you mentioned like the dancers. What's their wage compared to all the other supporting industries? Is it comparable?
Yeah.
Essentially.
First question, I don't really have the comparable data. You know, we've got the arts, but I'll tell you this, there are, and certainly the arts aren't the only ones that, you know, generate that event-related spending. Sports is one. I'm a sports fan. But follow where the dollars go. I'm just around the corner from the Washington Post. Follow the money. You know, with the sports, those dollars, you know, it's $25 for parking, it's $15 for a little number one, and it's $6 for a bag of peanuts. Lots of economic activity, but those dollars are typically going to a team owner and to a national concessionaire, you know, Aramark on the bunting, right? Well, odds are they're not based in your community. And so there's activity, but those dollars leak out of the community very quickly. How about the arts, though? And plus, you know, hey, you know, Washington football team, 10 home dates, that's best case scenario if they're going all the way, right? So your typical arts center, your arts organization, number one, running 4, 5, 6 nights a week. So putting a lot of regular foot traffic on the street. And most of that event-related spending is going to nearby types of businesses, staying in the community longer, having a more local churn and a greater local economic impact. So, you know, but a great community has got all of it. So, you know, I'm always sort of leery. You don't really want to, you know, take down anybody else. But the arts come out very strongly competitively. As to compensation for artists, well, that's a big challenge. You know, if you look at national data, yeah, arts, people working in the arts, you know, struggle to compete. You know, so I don't have local data, but there's certainly a lot of information out there. That.
Thanks,
yeah.
Wendy.
Thank you. I'm wondering about funding from the National Endowment for the Arts. How is that faring through the current political situation?
Yes, NEA, National Endowment for the Arts. Well, for another year, the current White House has zeroed out the National Endowment for the Arts and Humanities and Public Broadcasting. But they've done this for several years now. And by the way, arts funding is a nonpartisan issue because we just had a completely Republican Congress last session who not only ignored the previous zeroing out, they actually increased arts and culture funding. And so, but we all got to do our work. We all got a job to do. And so what I would suggest is that everybody become a free member of the Arts Action Fund. artsactionfund.org. And again, it's free. You'll get all the political information you need to know about when to, you know, send a letter to your member of Congress and that type of thing. And it's all digital. It's all online. But that's a good way to keep up. So, you know, I expect we'll do better, you know, this year. There's a big push to increase NEA funding, $12.5 million to $167.5.
Hi. I can't remember how many communities you said you've done this across the United States. 341? 241? Yeah. 340. So 341, we're not the first community that you visited. I wondered if you could share some of the positive after effects of this kind of information, how counties get involved, how cities get involved, how businesses, what are some of the highlights of those stories?
Yeah, this changes the conversation for a lot of communities. You know, I'm thinking of Fort Worth, Texas, where, you know, the mayor, yay, some woo-woos. The mayor had reduced arts funding 3 consecutive years. It was down a net of 50%. You know, the museums, they were like, this is critical. We're in huge trouble. The economic impact study came out, went out there. We talked to the mayor, the city manager, the city council. You know, we talked to the Chamber of Commerce, and the business community got behind it. Short short story, a week later, the mayor reversed herself because she said, look, I ran on jobs and essential services, and the arts are a jobs industry. And it took this research to demonstrate that. So there's obviously, can be really helpful in generating municipal arts dollars and funding, but it also demonstrates the value of a vibrant arts community, right? In making that community creative place. So every city and county has got advisory commissions and boards. You know, there's one for roads and one for, signage and airports. How many of those here have artists or arts organization representation on those? Because I tell you what, there's always some $1 million conversation that one of these commissions are involved with, and the arts make good decisions, better decisions. Everything from a better dump in Phoenix, changing manhole covers in upstate New York. I mean, I've got a million examples. But this is about us stepping up and really being part of this county, of this community. Again, together, we can really, build that healthier Nevada County through the arts.
And talking about healthy animals, which we're not talking about, the police have just identified there are 3 very thirsty dogs in a car that don't look very happy. I know. So if anyone has a car parked with 3 dogs inside, they might just want to just pop out. There's some water in the front lobby. Just grab a couple of bottles and do with it as you wish with your poor thirsty animals.
Or go out with a hammer and just take care of that window.
So no, it looks like it's no one in here. Is that right? So no one here. Okay, so next question. Any other questions?
Yeah. I've worked on art councils before in other states. But I do know there are people willing to take some sort of tax reduction to donate a 10-acre place right above the fairgrounds to house a permanent facility for the Arts Council here, and to have possibly, it's already got buildings on it, structures, and a completely remodeled house, but to also build some form of a permanent museum / art gallery. And the price tag is $600,000, but you did mention that California just announced that we have a $10 million budget, so I thought we really should approach that now. I do know the owners of this property. It's currently a horse ranch. Walking distance to downtown Grass Valley for $600,000. They may reduce that if they get the correct amount of tax deduction for a donation.
Right.
To start designing and building something like the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco, that sort of style. Yeah. But I think the money should be here because we really need a location, office space / gallery for events, because this is really a very beautiful, very desirable place for people to come. Just like you said, the non-locals, I meet them all the time here. Yeah.
Well, that's a wonderful thing. I think I talked to Don. There he is. Yeah, there's your state representation there. Good luck. That'd be awesome for the community, right? So, I am in favor. Next question.
Put Don on the spot. It doesn't work that
way. He'll tell you. He raised his hand. Let the record show.
Yes. What am I answering?
No, you're not answering anything. We're going to the next question. I was just suggesting you connect with a couple of folks afterwards.
And I know about that money, and I know about the funds, and it's really, each community is deciding on their own how to spend it, so it's important that have community input, so yes.
Yeah. That's something that might come out in the cultural plan or something, which you'll talk about next.
Yeah, you identified arts organizations that were surveyed, and I see a lot of full-time artists in here. Were they also part of the survey?
Generally not. It's pretty much an organizational approach. If there was some gallery, there were some galleries, arts, so there may have been some representation that way. But no, individual artists actually not part of this one. But remember the study with all the dots on it? 429 arts businesses, generally counted as part of that if the artists have done a Bradstreet number. So, yeah.
Any other questions? Sarah. This is Sarah from Truckee Arts Alliance.
I'm just curious how Nevada County compares to, obviously you gave us some numbers on how it compares to the national average in percentages. What kind of numbers are we talking about for national numbers for the generation of economic prosperity from arts and culture?
Well, nationally, $166 billion industry, $63 billion in spending by the organizations, another $103 billion by arts audiences. So, you know, huge. That's supporting 4.6 million jobs across this country, generating $27.5 billion in revenue to government. So it's major. And on our I did put it up there. Yeah, americansforthearts.org/economic impact. You can find, we've got a whole website full of all the data for all the communities, and you can say, well, how are the other, you know, small or mid-sized cities doing in comparison? So you can look for that as well.
Those are nice, big, juicy numbers.
Oh, yeah, they are. That's all over the hill.
And just to say, this particular report, although you hold it in hand, it will also be available online from about, well, whenever you get home tonight, it's Beth Ford. Where are you, Beth? Beth is going to make it live, thank you, has created a beautiful page along with all our other beautiful pages at nevadacountyarts.org. So you'll be able to access all this.
Hi there. I am a public school teacher working with the youth in our community. I'm very excited to be here because all of this amazing community arts needs to come to the child. At every public school, every child deserves it. So my question is, I want to be a person that helps with that. What do you recommend? How do I go there? How do I make this happen?
Well, there's the great news is there's phenomenal research that demonstrates that when young people have an education rich in the arts, they're performing better academically. And this is what we want, right? This is what's all over the front pages. Better test scores, better grade point averages, lower dropout rates. And I'll tell you, there's a UCLA researcher, James Catterall, who studied this for years, longitudinal data, 25,000 students at 1,000 schools across the country. And what he did is he divided those 25,000 students into 4 quartiles based on their level of arts involvement. So up here, you know, practices violin 3 hours a day, and down here, got to the museum once last year, and he compared academic performance. And that's where he saw, right, okay, well, the arts students, the better grades, the better test scores, the lower dropout rates. But because you are all excellent consumers of research, I know you're all thinking, yeah, but aren't these kids probably from more affluent or better educated families? You'd expect them to do better, right? Well, he anticipated for that. And this is really where the great part comes in. He went back to his base of 25,000 students and looked at just the lowest socioeconomic quartile. So students in low-income communities, Title I schools, and he did the same analysis and found not only did the results hold, but there was an even greater disparity between the arts involved and the non-arts involved kids. Helping researchers think, you know, maybe the arts help level the playing field, or kids who got a late start catch up. Now put that there for a minute, because every 10 years the Department of Education sort of measures how much arts education is out there. And what they've seen, like a lot of us the last couple decades, it's kind of been decreasing. But in those low-income communities and Title I schools, they've seen a huge drop-off. So those underserved students, much more likely to lose their arts education. Now, Catterall's work actually tracks these into young adults, people into their 20s. And even in their 20s, you can see measurable differences. You know, the arts-involved students, more college-going, more career-oriented jobs, less criminal involvement. And the Secretary of Education, previous Secretary of Education, called this a civil rights issue, because it set, arts education could set these young people off on this life trajectory. So pushing for arts education is one of the most important things I think we can all be doing. So thank you.
You know, PE has physical education has a number of minutes a week that elementary school students are supposed to have. We don't have that in the arts. PE seems to get their 220 minutes or their 440 every 2 weeks. We don't have anything that measures it.
Yeah.
So teachers can choose to do it, maybe not do it. Also, when we get to the high school level, and in California, you only need 1 1 year of a visual performing art to graduate. When it used to be 2 years, we had double the participation. We had many more teachers involved, so we systematically cut that out. That's a good place to begin with the practical kind of steps. Get some minutes in there that have to be done, you get that second year back.
Thank you.
So Nevada County Arts Council recognizes that there are many different kinds of value that art holds, both instrumental and intrinsic value. And so, as many of you know, Kimberly, you were at the launch of key findings of an education study we did in transitional kindergarten all the way up through 12. So rather similar to this report, in the lobby outside, you can find the results of a year-long survey in all our Western Nevada County public schools. And we are just waiting to complete that survey in the eastern part of the county. I think there are 7 public schools that we need to get to. So it goes hand in hand. It's not just economic, it's social. We also, of course, are just finishing off a digital cultural asset map, because we thought if we want to engage in a real conversation, we need to know where our cultural assets are and who they are. So I think tonight we are also publishing online our digital asset map. So you've all got to just go home and look online at nevadacountyarts.org, and you'll find and you will find both the economic impact study and the digital cultural asset map, which has a submission form in case you want to ask us questions about criteria for that map. It's sort of like a beta map that we want your input on. I think we need to start that part of the evening, so we're running a little late, and we want to have a toast with you all in the lobby. Lisa Swarthout as Mayor of Grass Valley and Chair-elect of the Economic Resource Council, and John Blinder, who's our board president, are going to give a toast to the arts. And we really want a glass of wine. But before we do that, we've got some questions for you. So you will see that you've got all these things, index cards or whatever they're called, and some pens around the place. And we want you to turn to your neighbor and to ask, and to just talk with your neighbors. You can form in small groups or just talk among yourselves, or even do it yourself. Choose 1 or 2 at the most of these questions and talk to each other about what they mean to you, and write the data down, because we want to hear from you. So don't just talk about it, please write it down and number your answers. Thank you. I think we have 7 minutes. So I do not want you to go without sharing a glass of wine with us, but I also want to let you know, just to remind you how incredibly valuable your conversations are to us now. Please, please write down your responses in a concise way so that we can transcribe them and use them in whatever planning we do so that we don't lose your voice. So make your writing legible, number your answers, and that way we can keep track on what they were answering. We also have an ideas box in the lobby, so you can put in any random wonderful ideas in there as well. Yes, sure. Yes, put them in the ideas box, or give them to me here or whatever. So I wonder whether board members could convene in the lobby to quickly pour lots of glasses of wine for us all. Thank you. And it feels like everybody's dispersing. Yes, yes. I'll just close it out. So we are going to end the formal part of our convening now with a big thank you to Randy Cohen. Thanks so much, Randy. Thank you. So please leave your ideas. Do not take them with you. Just leave them on the seat. That's absolutely fine. And join us in the lobby whenever you're ready.